Across the ancient world, there are mysteries so strange, so deeply buried, and so stubbornly unsolved that even today's historians can only whisper theories about what truly happened. Was the body of a god king vanish without a trace? How does an ordinary house cat rise to divine status, worshipped by millions? And how does one of history's most beloved goddesses collapse into silence almost overnight? These aren't just stories. They're windows into civilizations that shaped everything we know, and yet still hide secrets the world has never fully uncovered. Mystery 1. The vanishing tomb of Alexander the Great. Where did the body of a god king go? Imagine this. The most powerful man of the ancient world dies suddenly, and then his body disappears forever. A corpse that once symbolized an empire simply slips out of history. How can something so sacred, so heavily guarded, so politically explosive, just vanish? And if it did vanish, then who took it and why? Welcome, friends. And before we dive into this astonishing tale, do me one quick favor. Hit like, tap subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss a journey with Sleeping Historian. Trust me, this is a mystery you do not want to miss. Guess, what if the truth has been hiding in plain sight for 2,000 years? Alexander the Great was no ordinary ruler. He was a walking supernova. A man who carved empires before most men learned to shave. But when he died in 323 BC, his corpse instantly became the most dangerous object in the world. Because whoever controlled Alexander's body controlled his empire. But here's the twist. Today, the location of his tomb is as lost as Atlantis. How does the most famous tomb of the ancient world simply vanish? Was it stolen? Destroyed? Hidden? Or, as some believe, secretly worshipped under a different name? Let's go step by step and watch how a body became a weapon. A divine corpse with real political power. At the time of his death, Alexander was more than a king. After his pilgrimage to the oracle at Siwa, he was declared the son of Ammon, a demigod walking among mortals. His corpse wasn't just flesh, it was legitimacy. Whoever buried Alexander could claim his legacy, his divinity, his right to rule. But what happens when every general wants that power for himself? What happens when the corpse becomes more valuable than the crown? And what happens when that corpse is hijacked? A funeral cart built like a moving temple. Here's where things get unbelievable. It took 2 years to build the carriage that would carry Alexander home. Ancient writers describe it like something out of a dream, a rolling cathedral of gold. A vaulted chamber covered in shimmering gold scales. Jewels blazing across its roof, ionic columns around the edges, a golden sarcophagus visible to the crowds, for golden Nike statues holding trophies. Bells chiming as it moved so everyone heard the god king approaching, drawn by 64 mules in golden crowns. The sound and sight of this procession must have shaken the earth itself. But the question is, where was it really going? A hijack that changed history. The plan was simple. Take Alexander back to Macedonia, bury him with his ancestors, and preserve the royal line. But one man saw a different future. Ptolemy, the governor of Egypt, a friend of Alexander, but also a ruthless strategist, realized something powerful. If he controlled Alexander's body, then he controlled Egypt. And if he controlled Egypt, then he could build his own dynasty. So as the funeral cart reached Syria, Ptolemy made his move. He hijacked the corpse. Imagine the shock of the world. Imagine the insult. Imagine the madness of it, stealing a god. Perdiccas, the regent of the empire, went to war over it. He stormed Egypt to reclaim the body, but his campaign collapsed. His own soldiers killed him. And Ptolemy, he walked away with the body in the future. Ptolemy didn't bury Alexander where you think. The body moves again and gets a new coffin. The first burial wasn't in the new city of Alexandria. It was in Memphis, in the empty sarcophagus of Egypt's last native pharaoh, Nectanebo II. Symbolic?
Absolute.
It announced to the world, Alexander is the new pharaoh. Later, the body was moved again to Alexandria, placed in a magnificent mausoleum called the Soma. A shrine visited by everyone from Julius Caesar to Augustus to the unstable emperor Caracalla. But then something terrifying happened. The records fall silent. After the 3rd century AD, Alexander's tomb vanishes from history forever. No chronicler mentions it, no map marks it. and no legend preserves it. How does the most famous tomb on Earth vanish without a trace? Disaster, fanaticism, and a theft that may have rewritten religion. Three forces hit Alexandria like a hammer. A devastating earthquake and tsunami in 365 AD. Parts of the royal quarter sank beneath the sea. Religious purges under Christian emperors. Anything tied to pagan worship, including Alexander's cult, was destroyed. Political chaos. Centuries of it. Records burned. Buildings collapsed. Tombs plundered. But here comes the most shocking theory of all. Some historians believe Alexander's body didn't disappear. They believe it was renamed, and that millions of Christians may have unknowingly prayed before the mummy of Alexander the Great, thinking it was Saint Mark. Is it possible that the body of a pagan god king survived only because it was disguised as a Christian saint? Could the most sacred relic in Venice today actually be Alexander himself? And if so, what does that mean for the last 2,000 years of history? The deeper you look, the stranger it gets. The emotional twist: a king who conquered the world but couldn't conquer time. Alexander shaped civilizations, toppled empires, and changed humanity forever. Yet today, the place where he rests, the place where millions once worshipped him, is gone. Maybe destroyed, maybe buried underwater, be hidden beneath Alexandria's modern streets. Or maybe lying in Venice, mistaken for a saint. For all his power, brilliance, and ambition, Alexander couldn't control the one thing he wanted to shape most: how the world remembers him. And that is the tragedy and the mystery of a king who refused to be forgotten, yet vanished anyway. Mystery 2. The sacred cats of ancient Egypt. Why did an entire civilization worship this animal? Picture a world where a simple house cat wasn't just a pet, wasn't just a hunter, but a creature so sacred that killing one, even by accident, could cost you your life. How did an animal we now see sleeping on keyboards and knocking cups off tables become a divine symbol, a guardian of the home, and the center of one of history's strangest industries? THEY didn't own cats. Cats owned them. Ancient Egypt was filled with gods who watched from the heavens. But one divine presence walked right into people's homes. Cats were mysterious, independent, fierce, graceful. They protected the family, guarded the grain, and hunted venomous snakes. But here's the twist. Egyptians didn't just admire cats. They believed that gods chose to live inside them. How does a pest hunter rise to divine status? And why did this devotion turn into one of history's darkest industries? Let's unravel it, step by step. The first alliance, cats and civilization. Long before the pyramids existed, early farmers in the Near East had a problem. Grain attracted mice. Mice brought snakes. Snakes brought death. But nature delivered an answer. The African wildcat, a stealthy predator that realized human settlements meant unlimited food. Unlike dogs, cats were never trained. They simply moved in on their own terms. Farmers quickly understood their value. Protect the grain gives, save the village. Save the village gives, save civilization. Was this the first moment cats became something more than animals? Or was it the moment humans realized certain creatures had a spark of magic in them? From hunter to healer, the cat enters the home. Over time, the cat's role expanded. Not only did it catch mice and snakes, but it became a symbol of protection, motherhood, grace. Balance between ferocity and gentleness. No other animal embodied so many contradictions. And in Egypt, contradiction was divine. Artists began depicting cats under chairs next to women, guarding households. They weren't just hunters anymore. They were family. But once something enters the family, does it also enter the realm of the gods? Goddess with a cat's face, Bastet rises at first. Bastet wasn't a gentle goddess. She was a lioness, fierce, fiery, unstoppable. But as domesticated cats became widely loved, something fascinating happened. The goddess changed. Her image softened. Lioness head became the head of a domestic cat. Her role shifted from battlefield protector to guardian of the home, goddess of joy and fertility, protector of children, symbol of warmth and healing. Bastet wasn't worshipped from afar. She was worshipped in the home, just like the real cat sleeping beside the fire. But devotion brings consequences. And in Egypt, this devotion turned extreme. The unbreakable Law harm a cat and face the mob. Egyptians believed cats carried divine essence, so harming one was unthinkable. Diodorus Siculus recorded a chilling event. A Roman visitor accidentally killed a cat, not intentionally. Not cruelly, simply an accident. The people didn't care. Not even the pharaoh's officials could save him. The furious crowd dragged the Roman out and killed him on the spot. That's how sacred the cat was. If that sounds intense, things get even stranger. The mourning of a family, the death of a pet cat. When a cat died naturally, families entered deep mourning. Herodotus wrote that Egyptians shaved their eyebrows to show grief. Imagine how powerful that symbol must have been. Eyebrows were identity, and losing them meant we have lost someone we love. But this love story had a darker side. Devotion became obsession. Obsession became industry. And industry became death. The twist: millions of mummified cats. Here is where the mystery turns disturbing. Egyptians believed offerings pleased the gods. So pilgrims visiting Bastet's temples purchased cat mummies as gifts to the goddess. But where do millions of mummies come from? Temples began operating mass cat breeding facilities. Not for pets, not for companionship, but for sacrifice. When archaeologists uncovered catacombs at Bubastis and Saqqara, they found hundreds of thousands of cat mummies, most of them juveniles. Many intentionally killed, some even fake, stuffed with dirt or sticks, wrapped like real mummies. Imagine buying a holy cat mummy that wasn't even a cat, not realizing the scam was the most ethical option available. Even stranger, in the 1800s, British companies bought tons of Egyptian cat mummies, ground them up, and used them as fertilizer. Yes, Victorian farmers spread the sacred remains of ancient Egyptian cats over their fields. Is this devotion, desecration, or a reminder that nothing sacred stays safe forever? The fall of Bastet: when a new god arrived for thousands of years, cats thrived under divine protection. But when Christianity spread through the Roman Empire, the old gods were outlawed. Temples closed. Festivals stopped. Priests vanished. Beliefs collapsed. Without Bastet, the cat lost its divine shield. Within a single generation, a creature once worshipped as a guardian of life became simply an animal again. How does divinity vanish so quickly? And what happened to the millions of worshippers who once saw their gods living in feline eyes? The emotional closing, the animal that refused to be forgotten, the cult of Bastet died, the temples crumbled. The mummification industry disappeared, but the cat endured. Maybe the Egyptians were right to sense something special in them, because thousands of years later, in homes across the world, cats still act like they own the place. They still walk with the confidence of gods. They still demand reverence and receive it. Maybe no mystery is needed. Maybe part of the divine simply stayed with them. Mystery 3. The fall of Bastet's cult. How did Egypt's most beloved goddess vanish overnight? For nearly 3,000 years, Bastet wasn't just a goddess, she was a protector, a healer, a mother, a symbol of joy, and one of the most adored deities in the ancient world. Her festivals shook the Nile. Her temples overflowed with pilgrims. Her sacred cats were treated as living vessels of divine warmth. And then, suddenly, everything stopped. Her temples were emptied, her worship erased, her statues toppled, her cat cult dissolved into dust. How does a goddess with millions of followers simply vanish? How does a religion older than Rome collapse almost instantly? A goddess too loved to fall. And yet she did for centuries. Egyptian families believed Bastet watched over them. She protected childbirth, guarded the home, softened danger with warmth, and balanced chaos with love. Temples to Bastet were so crowded that ancient Greek visitors described her festivals as wilder than Dionysus,
Louder than war parades.
more joyful than all other celebrations combined. Hundreds of thousands danced, sang, sailed, and prayed in her honor. So how does that level of devotion die? What force could silence a goddess whose worship survived invasions, dynasties, and emperors? Let's trace the mystery from devotion to destruction. A golden age Bastet at her peak at her sacred city Bubastis. Bastet's temple was a marvel. Herodotus wrote that it was the most beautiful sanctuary in all of Egypt, built on raised ground with gleaming columns reaching toward the sky. During her festivals, the Nile filled with barges carrying singers, drummers, or worshippers, drinking wine and praising the cat-headed goddess. Bastet wasn't just a figure of fear or authority like some Egyptian gods. She was personal, intimate, domestic. She lived in your house, warmed your heart, guarded your family. But what happens when a new religion arrives? One that sees animal-headed gods not as divine but as demons. The cracks begin the rise of a new faith by the 3rd and 4th centuries AD. Egypt was no longer ruled by pharaohs. It was ruled by the Roman Empire, and more importantly, by a new faith spreading rapidly across its provinces: Christianity. To the early Christian leaders, the old Egyptian gods weren't harmless symbols. They were the remnants of a pagan world that needed to be extinguished. But here's the micro cliffhanger. Christianity didn't destroy Bastet immediately. It took decades of pressure, political, religious, and cultural, before the goddess began to fall. The first step: target the temples. The blow that shattered a civilization, the Theodosius Decree. In 391 AD, Roman Emperor Theodosius I issued a sweeping order. Pagan worship was banned, temples closed, festivals outlawed, sacrifice forbidden, shrines destroyed. This wasn't a suggestion, it was law. Overnight, Egypt's ancient faith became illegal. Imagine walking into Bubastis and seeing the once loud temple silent, cats wandering confused through abandoned halls, priests forced to vanish, devotees afraid to worship. This wasn't a decline. This was erasure. But the most devastating blow came next. The destruction of the temples. Zealotry takes its toll once the law declared pagan worship dead. Christian mobs felt empowered to finish the job. Temples across Egypt were looted, burned, smashed, converted into churches. If a god lived there, that god was exiled. Cult of Bastet was no exception. Her temple at Bubastis was stripped of offerings, statues, and sacred murals. The cat necropolises, once bustling with pilgrims, were sealed, abandoned, or looted for linen and resin. For the first time in 3,000 years, Bastet's voice went silent. But the story gets even darker. The end of the priesthood. When the last flame went out, priests of Bastet once maintained enormous temple estates. They oversaw cat sanctuaries, agricultural lands, sacred rites, and the long tradition of festivals. With one law, their roles were erased. Their work banned. Their vows dissolved. Some fled, some converted. Some hid their rituals in secret for a generation or two. But without temples, without worshippers, without state support, the priesthood died. And when the priests die, the gods die with them. But what happened to the millions who once worshipped Bastet? Did her memory vanish as well? The cult of the cat? The symbol survived even as the goddess fell. This is where the mystery twists. Even though Bastet's temple fell, the reputation of the cat did not. Egyptians, now Christians, still respected cats deeply. They no longer worshipped them. But they didn't forget their sacred status. Cats remained protectors of the home. They remained symbols of luck and warmth. And in some villages, whispered traditions lingered: never harm a cat. A cat leaving the house means someone will follow. A cat staring at a wall means spirits are near. These were echoes of Bastet's ancient reverence, surviving underground even as the goddess disappeared. But the final twist? Bastet may not have vanished entirely. The emotional ending? Gods don't die. They transform. Bastet's statues broke. Her temples fell. Her festivals ended. But the essence of what she represented: warmth, protection, motherhood, comfort. Joy lives on in every home where a cat curls beside a sleeping child, or purrs softly next to a lonely heart, or watches over a house with silent vigilance. A goddess is more than a temple. A goddess is a story, a memory, a feeling. And Bastet, gentle, fierce, protective Bastet, still lingers in the quiet corners of our homes. In the purring warmth of the cats who continue to rule our domestic world. Her cult may have fallen, but her spirit never left. The mysteries fade, but the questions stay with us. And there we have it, 3 ancient enigmas, each one leaving us with answers, yet somehow even deeper questions. From the vanished tomb of Alexander the Great, to the sacred cats who walked beside Egyptian families, to the sudden and heartbreaking fall of Bastet's once mighty cult, history reminds us of a powerful truth. Nothing is ever truly lost. It's not a king's stolen corpse, not a goddess forgotten by time, not a belief buried beneath centuries of silence. all of it still echoes through the world we live in. Maybe Alexander still rests beneath a city we walk through today. Maybe the spirit of Bastet still watches from the corner of a room. Maybe every mystery is just waiting for the right moment to be understood. One thing is certain, the past never sleeps, and here on Sleeping Historian, neither do our questions. So before you go, do me one last favor, hit like, tap subscribe, and ring that bell, so you never miss the next journey into the world's forgotten shadows. Thank you for watching, thank you for exploring these mysteries with me, and until next time, sleep well, stay curious, and remember history is always whispering. If you listen closely, you might hear the next mystery calling your name.